Maple Bottom Farm has a really unique opportunity for us to see a robot, which is a really cool technology used on farms. And so we're excited to share that with you today. If you have questions as Kevin is giving his presentation, make sure you get those in the live comment chat, and we will try to get Kevin to answer those questions as we have time. So Kevin, if you're ready, we're going to join you in the robot room there at Maple Bottom Farm.
Okay, good morning everybody. My name is Kevin, and I do work for Graham Dairy Supply. I've started in 2012 with them. How I got to work with them is probably not what you're expecting. As Gabrielle mentioned, same with her. I did not grow up on a dairy farm. I had never milked a cow in my life, and my dairy experience consisted of a 4th grade field trip to a dairy farm. I graduated high school in 1996 and went to Grove City College, where I decided I wanted to be an eye doctor. So I was in the pre-med program. As that went along, I decided that wasn't for me. I didn't want to do any more schooling afterwards. So I switched to an environmental influence. And just out of college, I pretty much got my dream job with the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission. I did that for a while, but unfortunately they cut my position statewide. So again, I was looking for a job, and a friend of mine whose family owns a telecommunications business needed some help. I ended up starting with them, having no experience in that field, and found myself there 10 years later. How I got to where I am, I was actually in the shop of my boss, Dennis Graham, and out of the blue, he asked me if I would like to come work for him. He saw that I was familiar with computers, not afraid to be on a computer, so he offered a job, and as things went, I started work for him in December of 2012. Everything I learned was about the dairy industry has come from the guys I work with, the farmers I deal with, and just my on-the-job experience. I learned all the equipment and the things I work on by basically shadowing one of our other technicians for about 6 months. At the end of that, I did go to some training through DLT. I did that in Wisconsin, their training facility, and have done a couple on-the-job trainings stuff since then. So I am our robot technician, but I do also work at other dairy farms in their parlors, on their pipelines, the vacuum systems, air systems, calf feeders. There's an automatic calf feeder that feeds the calves, robotic, much like this machine. So that's my background of how I got to where I am. Again, had never milked a cow in my life. Did not know a whole lot about the physiology of the cows and breeding cycle, things like that. Again, I've learned all of that on the job. Because of that, I do not make a whole lot of recommendations to farmers about their cows. I leave that to them because they know more than I do. But what I do work on is their equipment, the robot that you see here behind me. So what we want to do here is we will show the process of a cow coming into the robot and being milked. When this one, she's going to be finishing up here in a second. We see the arm coming off here and it taking off the teat cups, taking the milk from her. We still have one attached, and what we're going to see is when it comes off, the arm is going to go back under and spray her with an iodine spray. Those of you that are on dairy farms, you're used to dipping your cows post-milking. This is going to accomplish that same thing. So when she's finished, it will release her from the stall, and the next cow is going to come in. If you're wondering why the cows want to come in here, first off, they're getting a food in here that usually we try to provide some tasty that they want to come in and eat. And secondly, as many of you probably know, a cow needs to be and wants to be milked. So when they know it's their time, they make their way around the barn toward the robot. Now, if they have permission to be milked, there's gates that they go through in the barn. Every cow is wearing an ID tag in her ear, and it reads that tag. If she has permission to be milked, it will let her into the holding area. If it's not her time to be milked, she'll be circled back around the barn and need to come later. So there we see it spraying the iodine on her. It's pumping the milk over. Right now it's washing our camera to make sure it's nice and clean so it can see the teats on the next cow that comes in. There the gate opens. We're going to wash the floor off here. Here's our next cow. She goes straight in. She's going to start eating. As she's eating, the first thing we're going to do, it's going to have a cup here that's going to off her teats. This is using a warm water solution with a cleanser in it. It's alternating the air and the water, and then using vacuum to take all that liquid away from her teat. It's going to do all 4 teats here. This also serves as the stimulation phase on this cow. The warm water and contact down her milk. For anybody who milks in a parlor or a tie stall, your cleaning of them before you milk them provides the same thing. Usually you strip out some milk before you attach the milkers. This is doing that exact same thing. So it's washing her 3rd quarter here, and it's going to move on, hopefully get the 4th one here. And there we go. So now we're going to attach each of the cups to each quarter. Looks like we're going to double clean this cow. You can see the red line, it's the laser from the camera. That is what's actually doing all the locating underneath of her. Every milked, the computer is saving her teat positions so that anytime she comes in, if things change a little bit, it's always saving them as she moves through her lactation and her bag changes. It will help the robot to identify where to attach. Okay, so now we are going to move on to milking. And here we're grabbing the first teat cup. You'll see 2 different lasers flash here. You'll see it better when it attaches her front quarters here. First, we're attaching to the 2 rear teats. And now you'll see 1 laser will flash. That's generally finding the teat it's going to attach to. A 2nd laser comes on to fine tune it. And it attaches and senses the vacuum. Oh, we got a little hung up there. With that attached, it's going to come out, and now it's going to hold the hoses so they're in a nice position underneath this cow. Let me step into the picture here. We'll show you what's going on the screen here. This is broken down per quarter of the cow. Here we're seeing the cow's overall expected yield. She's expected to give 30 pounds this milking. Out of each quarter, here's what we expect. How many pounds out of each quarter? This line here with the bar going up is how much she's giving as she approaches that expected yield. And over here we have her flow rate on that, how many pounds per minute is coming from that quarter. From the screen, we could look at some information about this cow, how many days in milk she is, where she is in her lactation, some kickoffs, some incompletes that may have happened in their herd here. So back to our milking screen, we see her progressing through. As a technician, I can control many things on the robot through these different menus. Maybe if we have a chance between a cow here, I can show you, we can show some of those, some of the different tools that we use for diagnosis.
Kevin, while you're showing us some of this, I have a bunch of questions coming in. Do you want me to ask you a few of those now?
Yes, you can. We have a little bit of time here while it's going to milk her out. Go ahead.
Okay. This is really cool technology that we can use on the farm, and it's exciting that people can get to see this today. Yeah. Somebody wonders, how long does it take to milk one cow?
Okay, so the goal on stall time, we try to shoot for about 7 minutes. That's from the time she steps in, it cleans her, milks her, treats her, and sends her out. 7 minutes is a great goal to have. Depending on your cow and its yield and how long attachment takes, sometimes it does take a little bit longer than that. We did do a double wash on this cow. So that took a little bit more time up front there, but yeah, 7 minutes is our goal that most guys are shooting for.
Okay, and so if the cows come in more, like they're not needing milked, the robot will recognize that and not put the milker on, correct?
What happens is we actually have a gate out in the barn, and that gate is making the first decision whether that cow can even come to the robot. If she comes to the robot and the robot knows, the system knows it's not time for her to be again yet, it will send her back out into the barn where she can go eat some more, drink some more, lay down, or just make the circle and come back. Once she is granted permission, then it lets her into a holding area that the only way out of that area is to come through the robot and get milked.
Okay.
That permission is granted based on not only her time since her last milking, but the robot is constantly calculating what her expected yield would be. So once her expected yield reaches the level we set for it, then it will grant permission back in.
Okay, so are they pretty much coming through here about twice a day? Is that?
Twice a day, a little bit more we shoot for. Ideally, you know, you end up with some fractions of numbers. 2.8 times a day is really good for a lot of farms. Some cows in your herd will get milked 3-4 times a day. Jerseys especially, good cows on the robot. Jerseys like to move. Jerseys will come through a lot. We have some farms where the jerseys, we'll see them 4 or 5 times a day. So yeah, but generally somewhere between 2 and 3 times a day.
Okay. And somebody wants to know, does this process hurt the cows at all?
No, not at all. There's nothing in this process that would hurt them. These cows actually really grow to prefer being milked in the robot. It's extremely consistent, probably more consistent than human milking. They're in here, they're comfortable, they're getting something good to eat. Like I said, they're getting a nice tasty treat in there, so they don't mind at all. There are several precautions in place to make sure, for instance, that the water in the teat cleaner is within a comfortable range for the cow. There's a temperature sensor. If that water is too hot, it will not run the teat cleaner on the cow. Conversely, if it's too cold, nobody wants ice cold water on them. So it will also alert the farmer to that.
Okay. And the iodine that's put on at the end, why do they do
Yes.
that?
That is a treatment to sort of protect the cow in that teat after she's been milked. Basically a protection against germs and dirt, and also just a nice treatment to keep her basically in good health.
Very good. Did you have some other things you wanted to share with us, or do you want me to keep going through some of the questions?
Questions are great. I actually have the robot going to go into a manual mode when this cow is done. We're not going to let another one in. I was just going to kind of show you a little bit of the control from the screen, but sure, if you have questions, let's go with that.
Yeah, I do have a few other questions. How long have you been working with Maple Bottom Farm and their robot?
Okay, I was part of their install. If you make me say a year, I'm not sure. I would say that they're probably in their 5th year maybe of having their robot. Sounds about right. So from the beginning, I've been their technician, coming in, trying to give them some advice along the way, also working through any problems that they have. We also do a general maintenance. A lot of my job is doing maintenance on the robot just to make sure it is working well. So I'll take a second here. Go ahead.
Nope, go ahead. You show us that, and then I have a few other questions that came in.
Okay, so for diagnostic reasons and everything, there's a lot of things I can control, like I said here on my robot tab here. You see a service. I can make all kinds of things happen. If you want to show the head right here, by hitting on the screen here, I can make my gripper to pick up the cup. I can make it roll over to check my positions. We have 2 different positions on tilt there. Our camera washes itself. Here we can spray a water on the lens. And here we dry it off by blowing an air on the lens. Here's the 2 lasers on I was talking to you about. You can see them on my hand here. This is how it's finding that teat under the cow. One finds a rough position, and then one fine tunes it to find that teat and to attach to it. So I'll shut those off. And that just gives a general idea. Like I said, all kinds of things here on this screen. We can get into a lot of the technical stuff, the electronic side of the robot. There's a lot of things I can check going through some of these menus here. This tells me the status of all my computer boards on the robot, which if we walk over, we'll take a look a little bit on the inside of this robot for anybody that likes the gadgety type stuff. We have several of these computer boards all over the robot. They're controlling all of our valves that function, all of our sensors associated with our valves. All of this runs on Linux for any of you that are getting into computers and like that kind of stuff. This is a Linux-based machine. We are networked on the Ethernet, so all this is communicating with the computer, and also the farmers. We can connect our phones and monitor our robot that way. Here's milk meters. Anybody who has DeLaval equipment at their farms, you might recognize these milk meters. You might have them in your parlor. The 25 mm27, a lot of you might have those. Your pulsators up top here, again, providing pulsation. A lot of you might have these in your parlors or out on your pipelines even. Same thing, integrated into the robot here. Here we have our receiver jar. This is where the milk is being held until it is pumped over to the tank. Our milk pump, and here's our valve set. This is controlling where the milk goes. This valve will open when it's time to pump to send it to the tank. If we want to collect milk calves, for instance, we can get out to the milk house and collect it in a bucket, or any cow that's treated, or any cow that the robot monitors blood and conductivity. It will automatically divert cows that we think might have a problem with their milk or would not be healthy. So that's a little bit on the inside of the machine here. There's many, many working parts. It's great when it all works well. When it doesn't, that's when they call me. All hours
Yes.
of the day. This milks 24/7. So when there's a problem, the robot calls out or sends a message to an app to the farmer to alert them it's wrong. Hopefully they can get it fixed. If not, they call me. I can log in. I can do just about anything remotely to help them try to diagnose. Or I'm hopping in my van at 3 in the morning and go to visit a farm. So
Very,
that's
very
a
good.
quick look at the mechanics, the electric here. Any more questions?
Yeah, just a few more. So there are times that the robot can malfunction. Somebody wondered that. Do you ever shut
Absolutely.
the robot down?
Yeah, the robot, first thing that happens with your computer, when your computer starts having an issue, first thing you do, you restart it. Same thing with the robot. First thing we do is restart the robot. You'd be surprised. A lot of times that'll fix little glitchy issues. It gives it a fresh start on whatever it was doing. So step one, and then we go from there.
Okay. Just two more quick questions for you. This is just one robot. About
Yes.
how many cows can one robot milk in a day?
Oh, good question. I should have addressed that. So one robot can handle, D. Laval's recommendation is usually about 60 cow robot on this particular robot. We've seen more. If the cows are good cows that it can attach to quickly, you can get up to about 70 cows per one robot. At that point, if you're milking more, you put in a second robot, third, fourth. There's farms out there with 50 plus robots at one farm. So
Wow.
yeah, now there is a new generation of robot after this one called the V300. It is a faster robot in particularly how the camera attaches. It's very efficient at attach, so it can milk more cows in the herd and also more cows per hour if you want to look at it that way.
Okay. How much does this technology cost?
Don't hold me to any numbers here. The robot itself, just to set the robot in on the low end, I'm not exactly sure. I'll say D-Laval might really get me on this. Let's just say to get everything in, build your barn, everything, you're looking in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. I want to say one robot is around $200. And that's
Okay.
without your bulk tank to cool your milk, your vacuum pumps, your air compressors, the stainless steel pipeline. It adds up quick. Your barn scraper, all that kind of stuff.
So this is definitely an investment, but a really neat technology that, depending on what your goals are at your operation, something that's, you know, worthwhile. So
Absolutely, and the idea is that it frees up labor time and cost of paying, if you're paying workers to come in and milk your cows. This is in place of that.
yeah. Some people want to know what happens if the power goes out.
Here.
Oh, you going over here? Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna get some more cows in here to milk.
Yep.
Yeah, power out. Most farms, if it's a brief power outage, you just cross your fingers, hope it comes back on. If it's going to be a long outage, most farms will have a generator that they hook up to a tractor, and they can provide power for their farm enough to keep milking, hopefully off of that generator.
And if there's internet issues, how does that work with this technology?
Internet issues, internally, as long as the computer and the router, for everybody out there familiar getting into that kind of stuff, most of you probably are by now, it will continue to milk internally without issue as long as the internal network is up. If the actual internet is down, that would simply mean that the farmer couldn't log into their robot from where they're at, probably wouldn't receive alarms. I couldn't log in for remote help. But if it's just the internet to the outside world down, the robot itself will keep milking.
Okay. Well, this has been very informative. We really appreciate you joining us. For those of you watching live, feel free to keep sending in those questions. If we have time, we will be catching up with Vicki here again, and we can possibly get her to answer some of them. But we appreciate you being with us today, Kevin. Thanks for all you're doing there at Maple Bottom Farm.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thanks.